it away in game number 1, and a primary Shiv user here as well. Something Angel can use to get a lot of strength there, but they're actually going to last second switch to the Tristana, and like you said, some flexibility here for NIP early on in their drafting.
Bit of a different approach for NIP, and this time Photic's out for revenge pretty much, and I'm expecting this Tristana to fall into his hands. Maybe something like the Nautilus where you are able to get a guaranteed CC onto the enemy team, but it is going to perhaps be the Rel once again. I mean, we did see decent skirmishes from this Rel, but she was just way too behind in that game 1, so hopefully alongside Shadow they're able to find those picks early on in the game. But that leaves, I mean, JDG, they have so many mid jungle duos to kind of play off. Wukong and the LeBlanc could be considered here.
God, that's just such a strong pick combo to give over tonight. Oh god, he's gonna get it. Okay, it's fine, kitty. LeBlanc for JDG is going to be actually terrifying, and we've also seen a lot of strength when you fall to some of these crazy meta picks that have been rising in priority. It's not just the comfort, right? They are willing to take the hands checks against you, and we'll see if that's going to be the case this time. Already a powerful duo in the Emilio and the LeBlanc.
We do have the ADCs being hovered, but in the end it is going to be the Aphelios for Ruler in game 2, but it is going to be 2 static Shiv champions in the mid lane for tonight's game 2 between Knight and Angel. And we talked about this before, it's all going to be about either Shadow or Kanavi making their way first towards that mid lane and seeing how they're able to deny that first item spike going into either mid laners. So it's going to be really interesting how NIP and JDG is going to narrow down the champion pool, because we still have champions like the Nocturne and the Viego available. And Kanavi, I mean, I think he's just such a great carry jungler nowadays, where he doesn't really care about all these junglers getting taken away. But I'm getting a little bit worried for Shadow, because I think if Shadow isn't on an engaged champion, then NIP loses a lot of their identity, and only relying on Zhuo could be a huge trap that they fall into.
Could be, but also like here that NIP is going to go full frontal aggression, I guess, with a double marksman comp that after game 1 you'd be like, okay, maybe we want something more reserved. No, we want to fight more. We want to make sure that we have the damage to follow everything up. It was the Wukong and the Malphite banned away. The Malphite a good call when you're running a double marksman comp, because everybody knows what ADC's life is like against the Malphite. And we do get the Narg win for JDG. Insta-lock of the Cassante for Invincible.
Denying that away from 369. I'm assuming it is going to be something like the Ornn versus Cassante in the top lane, which we've probably seen more than 10 times in the summer, a billion times in the summer split so far. But we know 369 more than happy to take this, as JDG's composition so far, they are playing for that late game, a very different identity compared to game 1. And we see that NIP having something like the having something like the Rel and the Tristana, trying to shut that down early is the goal. So Kanavi, what are you gonna pick as that jungle? Because Nocturne could be great. You can close out the lights, and that does scare off NIP for a few brief seconds, and that could provide some space, or at least create some space for Ruler to run away.
It also is just crazy to me, the amount of times that we just see JDG get the comp that they want. And the fact that they are always on their comfort champs. Like, Ornn is the second most played for 369 there. We get a lock-in of the Bel'Veth for Kanavi. Oh, I'm hoping for a masterclass here.
Am I in 2023? Is that a Bel'Veth that I see? Is that an Ivern?
Let's go.
That's an Ivern for game 2 in Shadow. Alright, I love this
smile.
draft. It is absolute chaos from the 2 junglers. Screw Nocturne. Who cares about Viego? Because this is a brand new 1v1 in the isolated matchup. But I feel like Shadow having something like the Ivern with the double 80 carry composition, this is going to be really fun team fights, and how they're going to be able to kind of create space between them and the carries. But Bel'Veth in this current meta, I mean, she's pretty decent, but I feel like it really depends on how she's able to get her hands onto those major objectives. But you don't have a lot of lane party, especially towards that bottom side for that dragon, because you are up against that Tristana and Rel in this game too. So it's going to be really interesting how Kanavi really plays around this fact.
Yeah, man, it is so funny. We all focused on the jungle matchup so much, and how does Shadow stand up against Kanavi? What happens when they go head to head? We saw game one. It did not look pretty for Shadow. This is the kind of stuff you love to see. Ivern is a monster on this patch. And the fact that Kanavi is willing to take something like the Bel'Veth and force another style of play on top of Ivern, also changing up the game a lot in his style and his approach. This is going to be fun, Kitty. It's going to be a blast. And I can't wait to see if NIP in their home arena can bring us all the way to 3 games. We're headed off to Summoner's Rift in Shenzhen, and we're headed off to game number 2 of NIP versus JDG.
All right, so there's a reason why Ivern has been such a menace in solo queue. This champion pretty much solos carries, but I need to pause that because we have a huge kind of face-to-face confrontation in this bottom side.
Something I appreciate so much with these comps is not only the craziness of the comps, the styles coming through, some of the nature of the adaptation from game number 1, but also just smiles, man. For me, the emotion, the feeling behind playing a video game and making sure you're having a little bit of fun while you're still some of the best damn players in the whole world, it makes me glee. It makes me happy. It makes me so enthused at what this matchup between specifically Shadow and Kanavi is going to be, but hoping that everybody's buying into it as well.
You know what else makes me happy? We get our Ivern game in the LPL on patch 13.12. And the reason why this champion has become a bit popular in a lot of the between the pros is that we see it often getting flexed between jungle and top lane, but I wanted to specifically talk about it in top lane because there's this current build where you go Rylai's and Nash's Tooth, and Daisy pretty much just smacks you to death. This champion is so busted with the AP scaling right now where you can pretty much 1v2 because Daisy's just the 6th member of NIP. NIP Daisy, might I say. So it's going to be really interesting how Shadow's going to be able to get to those item spikes, as both of these junglers, they really rely on those items. But I think Kanavi, he does want to play around those objectives a little bit more, while Shadow slowly trying to get Photic ahead on this Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I love the focus on Ivern. We got Missing burning a flash down bottom lane, getting aggressed by Zhuo's Rel early on. But I also want to focus on the other side, Kanavi. We had a lot of attempts of Bel'Veth when she first came out towards the end of the split. And honestly, it was lackluster, all right? There was a lot of Bel'Veths that did not go their way. But Kanavi was one that, yes, some rocky moments on the Bel'Veth, but he has consistently been one I've looked to that I'm excited to see this because he's able to find a way to play through the play style that Bel'Veth represents, which is very different from a lot of other style junglers, maybe besides Ivern.
Yeah, it's really interesting that Kanavi is trying to look for an early gank onto the bottom side of NIP. However, I don't think they have enough setup to even burn a flash. So Kanavi going to try and look to find Shadow in his own jungle, but not being able to spot out this Ivern just quite yet. But I feel like this Bel'Veth champion, yes, it was very hyped up on release, but a lot of players have realized how heavily she relies on when it comes to those major objectives, especially around Rift Herald. So JDG, they need to prioritize that when it comes to the mid game, but we seems to have a 3v3 in this bottom side.
Shadow just trying to get over to his teammates a little bit quicker because he knows Kanavi is right behind him, gives the thumbs up, and that's perfectly fine for the way they want to go. As also, just a little shout out, I saw the tag there, Angel in his 400th game in the LPL. Love to see that. It's also on Tristana, something he hasn't played very often in his career. This is his 2nd competitive game on the Tristana, so at least on stage. See if he can do something against Knight on the LeBlanc, which has been banned away for a reason and maybe needs to be even more so here in 13-12.
It's only had 1 game on this LeBlanc so far in Summer Split, but it did end up in a loss. So a very different approach with the Shiv, of course, as that first item and going for the Night Harvester. So it is going to provide quite the different type of carry ability when it comes to those team fights. But I feel like NIP for this game too, their overall team composition, they heavily rely on Zhuo getting successful engages onto the enemy team, but you have to consider the disengage that Missing provides, and for Ruler specifically, and Knight being so slippery, it's going to be really tough to execute.
We'll see if the connection makes it. The flash comes out from Knight. That's really nicely timed and able to get away from the root caller of Shadow.
Observers, can we stop going towards top side? Because it's just a fridge versus a fridge. Come on.
I mean, maybe they just want us to eat some pasta because there's a bunch of noodle fights up there.
Yeah, but it's wet noodle fights. Who likes wet noodles?
Well, I mean, pasta noodles get wet when you cook them, right? Or
Yeah,
we
I
just
mean,
saying there's just a pile of pool noodles?
I never said dry noodles were better, sir.
All right, I got a question for you then. Pool noodle sized noodle or a noodle sized pool noodle?
I think a noodle-sized pool noodle.
Just a little baby noodle, pool noodle.
They just scratch.
I'd want a pool noodle sized noodle.
Oh.
We'll see back in the noodle conversation later because Ruler is in some deep trouble as he does get that flash out with the heal and a nice little friend there to keep him warm. We got missing, able to help Ruler get out, and Kanavi's here as a response in a 2v3.
We have both junglers hovering around this bottom side, but NIP, they do have a slow stacked wave, which they could potentially go for a dive. They don't know Kanavi's here, but they do spot him here now.
Shadow's a little early here, going to try to get the connection with Photic and Zhuo. Now Kanavi needs to back up here. We got a push in on the wave for NIP, so all's good as they should move up here. They have an opportunity to take a dragon.
Relatively good counter gank for Kanavi as he was just denying that potential dive going into the pockets of NIP as Rula does safely get his CS under that tower. But 369,
Angel
he has
is not
to call
expecting
the
this.
forges.
Oh my goodness, Angel was not expecting it. And you never expect the gank from the top lane Ornn at 6 minutes, but we did get the flash out of Angel, and that'll be revisited by JDG.
Something I love about 369 and playing Ornn specifically is that he's your jungler, he's your peel, he's your engage, he's pretty much the package of everything you would want in a top laner. And that's what makes 369 such a great player when it comes to the current meta. He is so good on these tank champions where it doesn't matter that he is being weak side. He's more than happy to be that proactive player that is going to roam towards mid lane.
Oh, if that chain hit, that was a
chain.
kill. Shadow is looking to take him down though. Knight's in some trouble against the Ivern. You can't get away from the forest as that's first blood for NIP.
Alright, if Shadow doesn't go the Rylai's build for this game, I'm going to be so disappointed. Unfortunately, I don't think we are because we have double 80 carries for NIP, but Knight trying to kind of scrap any CS left in that mid lane as he was caught a little bit out of position, a little bit greedy going for Angel there, but first blood going into Ivern's hand, not the worst thing for JDG, but definitely something that you would want because I feel like when Ivern's ahead early, it does allow for him to play around those major objectives so nicely with the bushes in particular, and it allows Zhuo to kind of play hide and seek in those major objectives. Yeah,
I will say Ruler's got a pretty heavy CS lead building already in the bottom lane. That crash didn't make it any easier for Photic. We'll see if now with 2 stacks in his Dark Seal, by the way, Shadow can continue being a major influence here. You got to stay proactive because Kanavi is just looking to farm as much as possible. We get the all out from Invincible, looking for a solo on a 369 here as he's trying to make that dice flip over to a 3. It looks like it'll be a 6 because he makes it out.
Does barely make it out though. No TP available for 369 either, and he is going to rely on that D-shield, trying to slowly get some health back. But NIP getting that first move in the mid lane, getting that kill on tonight. We said that when it comes to the Shiv meta, you have to deny this first item spike, and that's exactly what Shadow was able to do. And we also talked about how the Rift Herald is extremely important for JDG, so they need to contest
this is big though. Knight got on the other side, and Knight picks up the kill in response. He got Kanavi with the Void Feast ready to go. Is the purple wave gonna come over NIP? It's the Rift Herald fight right now as Kanavi secures that one, gets another Void Coral, and Invincible needs to get out of dodge, end up burning the flash. But it is JDG that come and swoop up what NIP was trying to put down.
Angel a little bit disrespectful there. I doubt he expected Kanavi to also be in that bush, but a really good chain to secure the kill onto Angel, forcing that numbers advantage and getting this Rift Herald into Kanavi's pockets. Now I think this Kanavi, I think this Bel'Veth is going to be a little bit uncontested for this first dragon for the side of JDG as well because of that 1 minute buff onto her passive where she's a completely different champion when she does get that Rift Herald. Extra damage and also so many dashes for Shadow to deal with.
Shadow's got to do something about bottom lane, though. Ruler is getting ridiculously scary in this advantage that they've built. But it is something that they just keep waxing and waning with the waves, and it's a pretty safe moment, especially with Emilio. We'll take a look back at that scuffle around the Rift Herald.
I mean, Angel had vision of LeBlanc, but not the Bel'Veth, and just chain CC after chain CC onto Angel. Definitely not where you want to be, especially when Shadow was committed towards this Rift Herald. But also having that Rift Herald in his pockets, I mean, it is going to be about the Dragon. I still feel like it's surprising to see Ruler having that wave, or at least wave advantage, compared to Photic, because Zhuo, he was getting those flashes out of the Aphelios and Millia, but they were going unpunished.
Yeah. It's a bit insane. Now, we do have Kraken Slayer maybe looking to be built again for Photic, as it is going to be the static shift for Angel on the other side. So trying to find a little bit more of that consistent damage to back up a lot of the tankiness that they will have in their front line and make good on the double marksman comp. But no early Dragon priority. Dragon's been up for 5.5 minutes. No team is really feeling confident because they're both fine kind of letting this early game play out.
When you look at NIP's draft, you kind of expect a similar playstyle of how JDG was able to execute their draft in Game 1, but unfortunately, JDG not giving those opportunities other than that one kill from Knight in the mid lane. As Ruler, I mean, sitting on 100 CS now, he's going to slowly work towards that Kraken Slayer as well.
Cole just got completed.
That's no flash in this top side.
Oh, there's the Ornhorn. And the purple wave has found Invincible. He goes all out onto Kanavi, but I think Kanavi loves that as he's going straight for the kill. And eat that Void Coral, you hungry beast.
I mean, dash after dash. You can ult him out, but he's just going to follow up with that as well. Missing does have the flash available, so that is going to deny the response play from NIP and secure themselves at least one plate into Kai'Sa's pockets. But are they going to start something like the Dragon, where you have so many plates getting lost in that top side right now with the Rift Herald in Kanavi's pockets as well?
See so many plates being traded over, as there were already 2 back to Photic, so that actually feels really good, where he was sitting down like a constant 30 CS. We actually get a flash out of Angel here on the Knight. Knight has nothing out of this one. One more bomb tick, click, click, boom! Angel gets the kill.
I have a feeling that Knight perhaps used his combo on the wave, and Angel found an angle, got onto the LeBlanc, and this is why Tristana became the response to this static shift, because once LeBlanc W's in, I mean, there's no way out, as Angel was managed to pick up a solo kill, surprisingly, when Knight is the one sitting on that shift. But we get a replay of what happened towards his bottom side. It was just NIP desperately trying to make a response play onto the bottom lane, but JDG bottom lane being so content with this idea as well.
JDG are perfectly fine taking this fight as well. Kanavi goes straight forward. You get the insta TP, and Zhuo is just gone. Dragon should go over to JDG, and Kanavi. It gets another evolution of his Endless Banquet, and love to see this proactivity from this comp after an early slow start. JDG are off to the races.
That's double Kraken Slayer getting picked up by the carries of JDG as well, so also the first Dragon. I mean, Kanavi is pretty much going to take over this game. Unfortunately, you already see this Bel'Veth zoning Photic out from his own tower in this bottom side. We talked about how NIP, they desperately rely on Zhuo being the main carry in these skirmishes, but the Rel is extremely squishy once she goes in as well. So if the first engage or the initial engage doesn't work, it's all disaster from there on. But JDG 369, he's looking a little bit cheeky on this one.
He is just pressing Invincible, knowing that Kanavi was bolting up here. There's nothing for Invincible to call home to. And as the Purple Sea takes over yet again, Kanavi has found another evolution, and royalty has come for JDG.
You see them once again trying to force something towards this bottom side. However, this time around, JDG, they don't have any summoners available for the bottom lane. They do have the
okay, nice little AoE, but Photic actually gets Ruler, and a Killer Instinct gets him out. That's 2 kills back.
2 for 0 trade, so it's pretty good, but Angel just died mid lane, so I guess in the end it is a 2 for 1 as 369 had to TP towards that bottom side. Ruler died while missing was unfortunately CC'd with his ultimate available, so it's really well executed from the side of NIP, but they are going to lose the mid lane tower for this.
Okay, well, Angel's death ends up getting activated on by Kanavi, and they should be able to take this tower as well. Oh my goodness.
Look, NIP, you get 2 kills into the pockets of Photic. I think he just got ganked by Kanavi over the wall. Angel does have the W available here though, so I'm not too sure how he died. Unless Kanavi flash W'd onto... Unless his W got cancelled or something by Tristana, no. It was just everyone stepping on him and fortunately suffocating in that mid lane, I see.
You know, I heard you're not supposed to run into a Royal Maelstrom. Maybe Angel will figure out a way to run away from that one, but it's hard when you're at home under your tower with a nice cup of coffee, and then all of a sudden a giant purple monster butts into your living room and you know, takes your head.
Look, here's the problem with the double AD carry comp. The Ivern can only help one person, right? And he's already decided that Photic is going to be the main carry of this game. Double static shift getting picked up by the side of the AD carries of NIP. Yeah, so a lot of Wave Clan, they want to play for these side lanes, but with that mid tower being gone, it's going to be so hard for NIP to kind of push up into these side lanes, as we see Kanavi being an absolute menace on this Bel'Veth so far, and they want to also secure the second Rift Herald into their pockets as well.
3-0-2 early proactivity on the Bel'Veth is something you'll love to see. Shadow trying to find a way back in on this Ivern. Hasn't had a bad game, but it's just been a Bel'Veth game from Kanavi at this point.
We do have the TP available for Invincible, but he has to be careful about how he uses the 369. Can cancel it, but I don't think NIP has the circumstances to even contest with the top lane wave getting pushed in here. But unfortunately, we see this common trend in NIP in this game too, is that they're consistently trading kills or objectives on the other side of the map, but failing to get something as a response, and slowly these results will turn into immense bleeding, and we already see that with the gold lead that JDG have created at 5k.
But we have to go back to what we said. This is the expectation. We have been sitting with our popcorn, our drink, ready to go, waiting for NIP to surprise us, to upend this underdog matchup. And so far, JDG have been at every turn like a boogeyman. And JDG now looking to press in the side lanes themselves, having so much strength through Night, and having a Rift Herald under tow, and a minute till Dragon.
I like how you compare JDG to the boogeyman. The real boogeyman of this game is Kanavi on the Bel'Veth, because you see Angel consistently trying to look for angles to kill Knight, but he blinks, or at least he looks around the wall, and Kanavi's there, just like this skirmish.
So much damage as it just goes down, as the endless banquet is feasted upon by Kanavi, and IP have to run.
I mean, that's just the Kraken Slayer on the Bel'Veth, also getting that passive stacked up on this champion makes her such a different kind of beast when it comes to the mid game. But we already see that NIP struggling to keep up with the DPS in these team fights, as we have Kanavi sitting on level 11 while all side lanes are getting pressured right now.
That's very hard to deal with, and now they're just going to use Rift Herald on a tier 2 in mid lane. This just opens the sieve for JDG, for the pressure that they can put on NIP. And Kanavi's just going for it. He says, why not? I've got the Royal Maelstrom to back me up. And now feasting again. He's going to have to be a little bit careful as the rest of his team's getting engaged on by Invincible. It's a flash out from Missing, though. And the Rift Herald knockback actually got Invincible caught up a little bit. Does make it back alive, though. The tower does not, as it will fall. That's flashes forward from JDG. And they are right back like a deja vu from game 1. 18 minutes in, they're pounding the base of NIP.
And the problem is that Baron isn't even up and available, so JDG, they're willing to just end this game as fast as possible. They're not trying to play for those major objectives, as Kanavi is just way too far ahead in this game. Now 5-0 also picking up the Black Cleaver, so much shredding ability, so even Invincible is going to die in the blink of an eye. But this composition that NIP has decided to lock in this game too, they needed this Tristana to be ahead and get those towers in the side lane, but currently sitting on 0 towers. I mean, this is just a bit of a disaster in the mid game, but Kanavi gets to do whatever he wants. Zhuo is way too squishy on this route.
Yeah, it's just really difficult when you haven't found a lot of that tankiness yet, and you don't have a lot of backup because you are one of the central front pieces. And then Invincible tries to get a catch out, right? But there's just so many tools still available.
Missing had that flash as well, and everything committed onto this melee just meant JDG was able to follow up with the amount of CC they had in damage. Angel does have a flank angle, but Shadow's dead!
Okay, well, Shadow's already gone. They've cut the tree in half. Zhuo makes it out alive for a moment, but now JDG are looking to put more push in the mid lane as Kanavi and Ruler finish off Zhuo. They're on to the Nexus turrets right now. They're trying to make better than last game.
bit of a deforestation move from JDG. Shadow's dead, Zhuo's dead, no engage ability from the side of NIP. Can they even
Oh
kill
my god,
the
they got it!
minions?
They got it! Kanavi says, I am infinitely beyond you, a mind undivided by weakness or mercy, and the purple wave, the lavender sea, has come and washed away NIP at every step of the way.
Call up the Forge, going out, hits the carries of NIP, and it's going
That's
to be
it.
a game at 20 minutes, Mazel.
We wanted NIP to surprise us. We wanted a surprise from somewhere, and it ended up coming from JDG. Back to back, they'll give us the fastest games of the split. They had 2020 in game 1, and it's 2005 in game 2. What a slugfest from the World Championship bound JDG.
We said that JDG, if they're not ending these games this fast, I mean, we